Hello, fight fans. I hope you're doing well. For those who are new here, my name is Jessica, the MMA Girl, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my MMA space. Welcome to my combat sports chit chat corner, if you like. In any case, I wanted to do a chill sit down video about this weekend's Canelo versus Crawford fight. Of course, the biggest fight in boxing that was, of course, promoted by none other than Uncle Dana. We need to get into that stuff because it was a real big fight and there's a lot to unpack. A lot of shocking moments, a lot of unpredictable moments, and a lot of things that people had to say. So let's get into it. So to begin with, of course, we had the betting odds, because the betting odds and, of course, the public opinion on this fight were unanimous, saying, of course, that Canelo was going to win this fight hands down. Now, never underestimate an undefeated fighter like Terrence Crawford, of course, who, despite not having the same caliber of opponents as Canelo has had, Crawford has never been beaten in his entire professional boxing career. And he got himself a watch etched with 42-0 in the inside of that watch. As soon as I saw the first few rounds of this fight, I was thinking to myself, this isn't going to go the way Canelo thinks it's going to go. And I'll try and insert a clip of Canelo's reaction to, I think it was round 8's huge left hook that he received from Terrence Crawford.
Right, as we roll onward from Vegas.
And I think that was the wake-up call he needed to realize who exactly he had facing him in that ring. And up until the 8th round, I gave most of the rounds to Terrence Crawford already. And closing in on the end of that fight, I thought that Canelo would speed it up a little bit and try and get that KO finish, because he knew probably he was going to be losing that fight. He didn't seem entirely surprised to lose that fight, seeing as most of the rounds went to Terrence Crawford. Now, I'm quite surprised he didn't try and get that finish in the end, but I think he wasn't underestimating his opponent. And Terrence Crawford looked like such a dangerous man that if he, speaking of Canelo, would have gone in too quickly to try and get that KO finish, he may have left gaps where Terrence would have got him and chinned him. So he preferred sticking to his game plan, sticking to defending himself correctly, and sticking to hitting Terrence Crawford when he found gaps in Terrence's game, which was not as often as Terrence found gaps in Canelo. So I think some would say Canelo could have done more. I think some would say that Canelo has done enough in his career to not worry about this kind of defeat. Of course, coming into this fight, both men had different objectives. Terrence Crawford being the underdog, Terrence Crawford being the one that most people, even himself, may have thought would lose this fight. He wanted to solidify his record. He wanted to embellish his already shining record and add Canelo to the names that he has defeated. Canelo, on the other hand, wanted to solidify his legacy. Adding someone like Terrence Crawford is not a small feat to add to one's legacy when he has the legacy he already does. But he's faced Mayweather before. He's lost to Mayweather before. He knows what losing's like. And we, of course, heard from Canelo after his fight, of course. He was telling reporters, I think Terrence Crawford is better than Mayweather. Having been in the ring with both guys, I think he's the best placed person to say that. And maybe he's giving him his flowers because he doesn't want people to say you lost to someone who was a lot lower down than you, because he may be getting comments like that on Twitter. But I don't think, analyzing this fight, you can't say that Terrence Crawford was not at a good enough level to face Canelo. This is the biggest fight in boxing that we've had in the last 10 years. And the first, of course, boxing fight that Uncle Dana has promoted in partnership with Ring and Turki Al-Sheikh. I'll put up a photo of Dana White sitting next to Turki Al-Sheikh. Front row was stacked, of course. We had Mr. Beast, Jason Statham, Mark Wahlberg was there for a while. Didn't see Mark Wahlberg at the end. I think he must have left maybe because the night was just very long. They had a lot of stars in the building, of course. Michael Chandler, Tracy Morgan, Dave Chappelle, Sofia Vergara. I can list the number of stars, but we don't care about that really. But this was a huge deal, and Dana White was able to conjure up a huge gate an insane amount of fans came in to watch this fight. An insane amount of celebrities came to see this fight, and of course, an insane amount of media coverage was done on this fight. Now, the reason I'm talking about this fight, when you're coming from an MMA background as a fan, as a spectator, you, of course, are coming in because Dana White is promoting this fight, and it just felt so weird to see Dana White promoting a boxing fight when it's just not in the ordinary that we see that happening. Of course, Dana White is going into his new adventure in boxing. He's getting into the boxing promoters pool, including, of course, the famous Eddie Hearn, who recently said that I'd like to compete with Dana White, and I respect Dana White. I like Dana White. We spoke this morning. That's what he was saying. But I would like to compete with him if he wants to get into boxing. Now, Dana White's, of course, planning to make his own show next year where he makes a sort of Dana White's Contender Series boxing edition, and he creates his own boxing league. And eventually, I think his goal would be, of course, to hold huge shows as he did last night, as he did this weekend with Canelo versus Crawford, with his names, with the big names that he is able to curate like he does at the UFC. I think he believes that he will get that done in the coming years, but of course that won't be an immediate thing. When the UFC first started, the stars weren't what they are today and what they did become later on. Of course, the stars like Conor McGregor, John Jones, big names that made a lot of money, weren't born from the first show of the UFC. So this is something that will be his baby, and he'll get it and he'll create it. But I will admit that he did look like he would have preferred to be in Texas for UFC Noche than in that arena watching all those boxing fights. He wasn't present, of course, for every single fight, but when I saw him sat down next to Turkey Al-Sheikh, of course, Turkey always up to watch any fights because he loves combat sports as well. Next to a Dana White that didn't look that amused, I couldn't help thinking, why, when you're simply doing a Dana White's Contender Series show, you were showing more emotion than you did throughout the whole evening for the Canelo vs Crawford pay-per-view on Netflix. And I think, Dana White's getting into boxing because he knows money's big, and why not? You should touch something you know how to deal with boxing, and you know how to deal with combat sports. So why not translate your UFC model to boxing? It would be illogical not to try, as you are Dana White, as you have your own business ventures to do, as the UFC no longer is owned by the Fertitta brothers. So why not try and create your own thing? But if it's not his passion, if that's not what he's in love with as much as he is, of course, UFC, MMA, then we're going to see Dana White's face every time a little bit less excited than he is when he's standing in front of the octagon and watching his fighters do their thing in MMA at the UFC. So that's the only comment I have to say on that. Of course, I enjoyed the fight between Canelo and Crawford, and Canelo versus Crawford was just a masterclass in boxing. So both guys not looking to get knocked out, both guys defending themselves very well. You're not going to see highlight reel KOs from two men who know how to protect themselves from getting KO'd. So I'm not surprised that there wasn't a KO in this fight. This was a clear unanimous decision before getting into the ring. But it was an exciting fight nonetheless, because you had some of the most highly skilled boxers in the world in the ring together. I stayed up for the whole thing. Of course, I did a marathon from Cage Warriors to UFC to Dana's Canelo versus Crawford fight. And it was quite a long evening, but a very entertaining one. And congratulations to Terrence Crawford for proving that you are the new super middleweight GOAT in boxing. I can still respect Canelo's performance from A to Z, even though Terrence Crawford clearly dominated from start to finish. What did you guys think of Canelo versus Crawford? Did you guys watch UFC Noche and then get back onto Canelo versus Crawford? Did you only watch Canelo versus Crawford? Are there only pure boxing fans in the audience today? Or did you go for the whole whammy, Cage Warriors, UFC, and Canelo versus Crawford? Just finish off a long, amazing evening of combat sports. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments down below. What are you looking to see from boxing, Dana White, etc. in the near future? Are you excited for what the future holds for Dana White and boxing? But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And we'll see each other next time for a podcast episode from me going over the latest news and events in MMA and combat sports. See you later. Bye.